Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, I had a voice radio. So today, we are looking at dumb Pokemon cards. I've had quite a good reaction to my Dumb Things to Do With series, where we look at dumb things to do with Pokemon cards. I thought I would have a look at some really dumb Pokemon cards. Ones that don't make a huge amount of sense, and ones where the attacks are a little bit dumb and a little bit like, what? And although the new Chinchino goes some way towards it, there were several cards that kept pointing at the same two Pokemon. Slowbro and Slowking. Sorry, Slowpoke, but you evolve into dumb Pokemon. Let's have a look and see what we mean. So starting off with Slowking, then we can look at the recently released Slowking from Burning Shadows, and I'm looking particularly at the attack here, unarmed. Free Psychic Energy on a Stage 1 Pokemon is not particularly great. I've talked about recently with cards like Toxapex and Mewtwo GX, saying that free Psychic Energy on one Pokemon is a little bit too expensive. I'm not buying it. Well, here, 110 is quite good, but you can actually do it for 0 energy. 110 for 0 energy, that sounds great. What's the catch? If you have no cards in your hand, ignore all energy in this attack cost. What? So you're telling me I've got to have a 0 card hand, and then I can do 110 for 0 energy, but I've got a 0 card hand. I mean, on the upside, it means you don't mind if your opponent ends you because it can't get worse. Maybe you could combine this with something like Octillery or Oranguru to draw the cards back next turn. But firstly, getting down to a 0 card hand is not actually the easiest thing ever. Secondly, playing with a 0 card hand is dumb because then you're top decking and you might not draw anything. Octillery sounds like a great idea until your opponent brings in a Garbodor and you bring in Tears. Another fairly dumb Slowking card was Slowking Prime. It had a really weird / annoying / meh poker power opponent's choice. Once during your turn, you may reveal the top 2 cards of your deck, and your opponent chooses one. You keep that card and the other one goes to the bottom of your deck. Now, on the one hand, you get an extra card and this sounds tasty. On the other hand, you're basically showing your opponent the top 2 cards of your deck, and if there's a card you really need, your opponent can make you put it to the bottom of your deck. If you draw a pointless Pokemon you don't need and a double colorless energy, your opponent can go, okay, take the Pokemon I know you don't need because I can see your field, but put the double colorless at the bottom of your deck. Not only do you not have it, but you're definitely not going to draw it next turn. It's at the bottom of your deck. That's a little bit dumb, ladies and gentlemen. You're basically helping your opponent disrupt your setup. But the dumbest Slowking of all was actually a misprint. Because we've got this Slowking from Neo Genesis, which literally ruined the game. I talked about it in my banned Pokemon cards video. I'll pop a link to that one in the description. But essentially, whenever your opponent plays a trainer card, this was when trainer was a blanket term, so that was items, tools, stadiums, and supporters, any of them. Flip a coin. If heads, it does nothing and goes to the top of your opponent's deck. But of course this stacked, according to that wording, so you could have 4 Slowking out, and your opponent had to flip 4 heads in a row, that's a 1 in 16 chance for you mathematicians out there, in order to use it. Now, it was a misprint because in Japan it had to be active to use it, and it's not a great attacker, so it made perfect sense. But it was dumb when it came out over here because it basically meant flip a whole bunch of coins, you're rarely going to hit 4 heads in a row, and oh yeah, all your top decks are going to be those stupid trainer cards that you couldn't play last turn. But there is a strong argument, ladies and gentlemen, that Slowbro has been even dumber than Slowking. Let's have a look, shall we? How about the Slowbro from Breakpoint? Free energy, walk off Homer. If you use this attack when you have only 1 prize card left, you win the game. Now, on the one hand, that's actually a good attack. On the other hand, it's a stage 1 for free energy. So you're not dropping it as a surprise. I suppose you could go double colourless energy and aqua patch, but that's a lot to ask for. And you've got to get it in the active. And if you're not down to 1 prize remaining, then I don't know, ladies and gentlemen. It just seems a little bit silly. Now, we've actually got a good version of this with Kartana coming out in the near future in Crimson Invasion. For 1 metal energy, you get to draw a prize card. It's your GX attack, and that's essentially the same thing. But this could, in the right circumstances, be quite a good attack, but I still think it's a little bit dumb because it's free energy on a stage 1, and it's about the most situational attack I've ever seen. Although, as always, if you think you can find a more situational attack, one that's even more specific, I would love to see it, and do make sure you chuck it down in the description. And by description, I mean comments. That would make me happy. Not the only dumb Slowbro card we've ever had, ladies and gentlemen. How about Mega Slowbro EX? Free water energy, 100 damage, and you're confused, but next turn, you do 200 with Lol Roll Spin, which is a great attack name. The thing is, you have to confuse yourself. So on the one hand, yay, you do get to do 200 next turn. On the other hand, you're confused, so there's a decent chance you're actually gonna hit yourself, and that's gonna be a bad thing. Now, as dumb as this is, we do have ways around it. We have the Tool card Heavy Boots. Oh no, wait! Because it's a Mega Pokemon, you need to use Spirit Link so you don't end your turn when you evolve. Gosh darn it. And then we've got Chaos Tower, which you can arrange so that you can't be confused. But a card that confuses itself and then says, hey, you can do more damage next turn if you flip ahead because you're confused. I mean, these cards are weird and dumb, and that's why I'm calling Slowking and Slowbro the dumbest Pokemon in the Pokemon trading card game. Because these attacks are just, they're not even necessarily bad, they're just overly complex and convoluted and weird, and I keep using the word, I'm going to go back to it, get ready, dumb. How about the Slowbro from Heart Gold Soul Silver? For 1 water energy, Big Yawn, 30 damage, both Slowbro and the defending Pokemon are now asleep. Now, the good news here is that your opponent only gets 1 chance to wake up. Sleep, you flip a coin between turns. If head, you wake up. So your opponent has, after your turn to wake up, a 50% chance, whereas you've got after your turn and after your opponent's turn, a 75% chance. But you can still stay asleep. So then you're basically turning yourself to sleep, meaning that you can't attack. Oh, but it's alright, because from that you get to do 30 damage. Seriously? Although, shout out to the attack Mad Kinesis. 30 damage plus 20 more for each psychic energy attached to Slowbro. So it did work as a nice water attacker in a psychic deck. But possibly my favourite of them was Slowbro from Dark Explorers. If you have 2, 4, or 6 prize cards remaining, this Pokemon can't attack. So it can't attack until you've taken a prize, and then if you've got an even number of prizes remaining, you can't attack. Which is so weird and bad. But then you're thinking, alright then, I bet this is like the best card ever. It's going to have these crazy good attacks, which totally justify this really dumb ability. But no! The only attack it has does 80 for 2 energy, and puts yourself asleep. Now, 80 for 2 energy was pretty good, but then you put yourself to sleep. So, you're talking a Pokemon with an alright attack, except it can only attack if you've got an odd number of prizes left, and it puts itself to sleep when it attacks. Now, this is kind of the opposite of Mr. Mime EX, and that's what really comes to mind here. There were 2 Mr. Mime EXs that came out. One of them prevented odd number of damage done to it, i.e. if you would do an odd number of damage, nothing happens. and the other one prevented an even number of damage. They were good. Slowbro wasn't. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why I think Slowking and Slowbro are the dumbest Pokemon in the trading card game. These attacks are convoluted and weird and don't make much sense, but they're kind of adorable in that way, so I'm totally willing to forgive them. But as always, ladies and gentlemen, I want to know what you think. Do you think there are Pokemon out there that have even dumber attacks than Slowbro and Slowking? If so, I'd love to hear them. Let me know in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassy, and Twitch at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. That's where the live action happens. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, etc., you can do so at patreon.com/PTCGRadio. But by far the most important thing, as always, is to look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.